Welcome, everybody, to the Grow Ortho live stream. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined by James Kuck, HIP's very own SEO wizard. Welcome to the show, James.
What's up, Zach? Excited to be here.
I am stoked because we've already had we had an episode, if y'all don't know this, where we talked basic SEO tactics. A lot of great information. If you want to go check that out, we've put it out as a podcast, cleaned it up a little bit. You can check it out here on our channel over on YouTube. But today we're getting into the nitty gritty. We're getting into some advanced stuff. We're talking about AI, and I'm looking forward to it. But everybody, let us know where you're watching from and that you are excited about today's live stream because it is going to be fantastic. I love getting to just pick James's brain because James is amazing at SEO. That's why I call him the SEO wizard. He just doesn't wear the big floppy hat and he doesn't carry around a cane. He's just got all the Google wizardry over there. But super excited about that today because, like I said, we are talking about SEO tactics and AI and how that is going to help transform your practice, your searchability, you showing up. Because the biggest thing, everybody's on their phone. You know, you see people, they go to the bathroom. Guess what? They're on their phone. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't leave their hand unless they're asleep. And sometimes it's in their hand when they're asleep. So SEO is vital for your practice. So I'm looking forward to get into all of that. We'll also be taking questions. If you have questions, please put them in the comments so we can see them and we can address those. And we're kind of shaking it up a little bit. If you have questions, we'll jump into those once we finish what we're talking about, because we get kind of deep into these conversations, we get going, and we'll run out of time. So as you have a question, go ahead, pop it in the chat. Let us know. That way we can see everything. But hope everyone is doing excellent today. It's going to be a great time. So that's how we're changing up our live streams a little bit. But James, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your experience working with SEO and ranking different businesses.
Yeah, so I'm James Kuck. I have been in the SEO game going on 15 years now. Crazy to say. So I have been through all of Google's beautiful algorithm updates over the last 15 years. And now I get to live in the new era of AI, which I'm loving, which I think is just incredible. And we'll get more into it. But yeah, for the past 15 years, I have launched many different case studies myself, been in many different mastermind groups, and just learning and growing. That's it, man.
I love that it's not just resting on your laurels. I had a mentor of mine. It's like you're sitting on your 5-gallon bucket. You've already done what you're supposed to, but you're going after that. You're constantly learning. Every time I talk to you, you've got some new thing that you've learned or seen, or like you're very on the cutting edge. You know, I'm just going to brag on you here, James. You're on the cutting edge, I feel, and always wanting to get better. And I think that is important, especially when it comes to search engine optimization. Like you can't rest on what was even a month ago. I feel like it's changing so fast.
Yeah, very true. I mean, with Google and the search, it's constantly changing. One thing I say is like, this is something that you can't teach in school because that's how much it's changing. It's just right. Like you need to stay on top of this stuff, especially with AI now, with the shifts in Google algorithms, right? Staying on top of this is much key. Yes.
And like I know, a lot of people have great looking websites, even going on Squarespace and using their AI or whatever to like get a website up. You can have the best looking website, but if no one ever goes on your website, no one's ever driven to your website, it never ranks, then they're not going to know that you're there. And you're cutting yourself off at the knees. So let's jump into today. And I want to start with hyper local targeting and engagement. And first off, James, what is hyper local SEO and how is it different than just your run of the mill local SEO?
Yeah, great question. So hyperlocal is really focusing on very specific areas and neighborhoods And usually, like with just a regular SEO campaign, yes, local SEO, you'll have your location, you'll optimize, maybe you throw the location in there in a few places, right, that you're told to do. However, Google's getting very sophisticated where they're building their algorithms and there's proximity, like algorithms in place. And what we want to do is send the right signals to make sure that we're not just ranking for the main location, but we're building out proximities. Perfect example would be if you have a business, you're in Pensacola, but you want to reach people in Gulf Breeze, right?
Mm.
Yes, okay, you probably have some optimizations mentioned in Pensacola, but my question would be, are you also focused on Gulf Breeze, and what kind of content are you putting on your site for Gulf Breeze? A lot of times, I would say probably none. So when we're getting hyper local, we would be building robust content for very specific neighborhoods and locations and optimizing them on the site, and then building signals that are off the site to help ramp that up.
And I think that goes to knowing your community and the communities around you, because like Pensacola is a very interesting place because we're in Escambia County, and Escambia County is huge. But when you think about it, like Santa Rosa County is right beside Escambia County, and Gulf Breeze is right there. Then there's Pace and Milton, and even Jay. That area is used to driving to Pensacola for anything, really. When it gets down to it, it's
Yep.
like, yeah, we've got grocery stores and all of that, but if it's doctors or dentists or anything like that, we're having to drive into the city. So why wouldn't you target those people? So just kind of give me an example. Like, let's say if you're trying to reach somebody over in Pace and you're an orthodontist in Pensacola, how would you go about like hitting that hyper localization?
Yeah, I would number one make sure that there's some type of optimization around pace on my Google business. That's for sure. Like service areas, we want to make sure that that's mentioned. I would want content that's generated onto the Google business that's also optimized for that. And then I would want to build a very robust neighborhood page that's optimized completely for all of the top search terms that I know that I want to be found for in that area, and make sure that that's optimized. And then also additional treatment page. I mean, we really go above and beyond with our, I call it like a content sprint. Like
Mm-hmm.
we are building a lot of robust optimized content after doing keyword research, after doing this hyper local type of targeting research of, hey, what neighborhoods are you actually seeing patients from, or do you want to pull business from, right? Like we're looking at that scope and going like, okay, this is what we then have to build. So it really comes down to optimizing the on page of the Google business, making sure you're mentioning the type of treatments and the location, neighborhood pages on the actual website, and just making sure that that is fully optimized completely.
And I think it's important to realize that it is several steps. It's not just throwing in Pensacola and a few other places in your SEO. Uh,
No.
Talk to me, like, what is the importance of creating content for specific neighborhoods? Like, what are some tips that, somebody could use on how to do that well?
Yeah, so I always say this, success leaves footprints. So if you just go over and you look at who's ranking for those neighborhoods, if you analyze their content, you're going to start to see specific gaps, we call them. So a
Mm.
gap is something that your site is lacking. That's a gap. If you want to fill that gap, you have to get that optimization. So there's usually a good, and we have a framework that we built where we'll actually go analyze the competitors who are ranking in the areas that we want, and we take all of that great information and optimization as far as like the headings, the page titles, and we make sure we start building out those neighborhood pages. So to actually build a neighborhood page, I would say first start off by going and doing a competitive analysis, see who's ranking, see what kind of content they have on there, see how it aligns with your brand. How can you reword that in your own words and to match your voice and brand voice, and then actually publish that on your site.
And again, it's knowing who you're reaching out to. And it's also, knowing what your avatar for your orthodontic practice, your dental practice is. Are you, like we work with Elevation Orthodontics with Dr. Bryce. He's an adult only.
Yep.
So he's going to be targeting that specific age range where you could be, oh, well, I know that this area is mostly retirees, or I know a lot of new families are in this area. It's like whatever you're matching, and it's like you don't want to just throw the kitchen sink at something if it's not going to work. So you have to
No.
be kind of careful on that, and doing that research, I think, is pivotal to actually having something come in and work for you.
Yeah, that's why we're even during our onboarding, we're very specific. We thought this out. We have our discovery call. We learn and we ask these questions because you're going to know your area way better than I know your area, right? I'll know my area better than you know my area. So that's why we ask these questions and we start to understand through research, not only through our tools that we're using and with AI, but also we bring it to the table of, hey, we see this. It's just like me mentioning, I'm not from Pensacola, but I know Gulf Breeze is fairly close. Now,
Hmm.
we might have a partner that says, hey, but we actually do not want to see patients from that area. And that's good communication. We
Yeah.
would need to know that, right? But
Hmm.
then again, they might go, oh, I never thought about actually optimizing. Yeah, we see a ton of patients from that area already. I would love to expand more. It's like, okay, that conversation is how we get educated on the demographic and area, and then we could go to work and make sure we're fully optimizing out.
So, what are some common mistakes on like hyper localizing your practice, and like how can practices avoid that?
The most common mistake that I see is there will be like we'll use Pensacola again. There's a business in Pensacola. They are optimized okay for Pensacola terms, right? And then at the bottom, they'll just mention, we service Gulf Breeze, Pace, right? They'll just mention the
Mm,
areas at the bottom. But there's no robust content. There's no real true signals over to Google. There's no optimizations. There's no way that just by mentioning those neighborhoods that you're really going to get strong rankings, especially if there's competitors who are doing what I'm saying with the hyperlocal. You're never going to beat them by just doing that. So the biggest mistake is just what we would call just thin content. It's not properly optimized. That is the biggest mistake that I see almost on every site that is either multi-location practice,
mm.
or they service a bunch of neighborhoods. They don't fully get specific optimizations at the level that they need across the board individually.
And that right there, I think, is such a powerful thing to realize is just kind of blanket statements only go so far. When a competitor comes in and is doing exactly what James is saying, they're going to utterly decimate you. So you have to be on the ball, and not to toot our own horns, but James does work for HIP. So if you want that help, you can come and talk to us, and James can beef you up, and the SEO team can beef up your website and everything, and make sure that you're ranking with these hyper localizations. So, what metrics show if this hyper localization is actually working with your SEO?
I would say three things. One would start off with keyword reporting. So you want to make sure that you start tracking even those additional neighborhood keywords across the board. So you could track them, see if you see growth in those. Google Analytics, see where your searches are coming from, right? If you start
Mm,
seeing that search is coming from those locations, you know that you're doing a great job. And then third, probably most important, if you are actually looking at conversions and asking the right questions, and you understand where your patients are coming from and converting, and you start seeing them come from areas that you weren't really seeing people come from before, that's a good signal. I actually just got off a call the other day with Elite Endodontics, and they said that the proximity that we built out, they're seeing patients now from like that are willing to drive an hour.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, well, and it's like if you have rural communities, like I grew up, if no one can tell from my accent, I grew up in a very like small rural community, and until I was like 15, there was not even a dentist in our like town. So anytime you had to go see the dentist, go to the orthodontist, you had to drive to maybe Milton, maybe Pace. They didn't even have one back there in Pace until Fishbone came in. But you would have to go 45 minutes, an hour away to go see these specializations. And if you're not tapping into that with your SEO, and then you start seeing people come, oh yeah, like I drove an hour away and I'm excited to be here. Like you start converting
Yep.
on the other parts of your practice, the SEO is just getting them in the door. Then you've got to make everything else happen. But when you start hearing that, oh, this is working. What Hip's doing is working.
Yep.
Then it's like you become a hero to these people because you're helping them get the smile that they deserve. You're helping them be more confident. And it all starts with actually reaching them, because if you do this, James, and you can kind of chime in, you don't have to spend as much on ads, I feel, when you have better SEO. You can have great
Definitely.
SEO and spend less on ads and still see a ton of patients.
Definitely. There are practices that don't spend a lot on ads at all. If you have very strong SEO, you can convert a lot. I still stand by though. Ads don't hurt though, right? Like
Oh
why not
no.
take up more digital space, right? Just if you could turn them on. And what's beautiful about ads is you could really measure the ROI fairly easily, right? So I'm all for ads, but obviously
Mhm.
my domain is SEO, and I have worked with businesses that have only done SEO, and I've watched their business just explode because they
Mhm.
just started dominating the area. And it's not just about, yes, of course, SEO, we want to rank and get people over to the site, but it also comes down to your brand, right? And your messaging and your work. Like I'm sure that Elite, yes, somebody found them from an hour away, but there was also something that made that person trust in them that go,
Yep.
I'm going to go see them and in their office, right? Like it can, so it's both. It's, hey, you have to have a strong brand, good reviews, be genuine and committed to your messaging. And then if we can get the traffic to your site, boom, you start seeing people that are driving, an hour away. When I heard that, I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we're a marketing agency. We do a lot of things here. And if your SEO is good, you're bringing people to the page normally. It's going to make it so much easier when you turn on the ad side of things.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, it's just it's just icing on the cake, as they would say. So, do you have any examples of practices that have nailed their hyper localization SEO tactics?
Yeah, I would have to say Dr. Sakowitz in Orlando.
Mm,
We really been doing a lot of incredible things with his practice, and he's now ranking #1 for orthodontists in Orlando, which is a very
yeah.
competitive area. However, what where that stems from is his locations, because Orlando's big. So again, most practices, what they'll do in that situation, they'll just mention Orlando, right? Well,
Mm,
what we did in his case is, of course, we knew Orlando's top level, but we knew his offices are in Lake Nona, Winter Garden, Dr. Phillips. So we made sure we also hyper targeted local optimizations for each one of those offices. And then what we've been doing over the last few months is building up neighborhood pages that are proximity builders around each office and around Orlando to start expanding even more reach. And that's where
mm,
really, that's a perfect example of hyper local SEO, is building and building and building and just expanding, especially if you know that you can actually see patients in this area and you have 3 offices that kind of like, give you a good expansion across Orlando. It's like, hey, let's add more neighborhoods. Let's try to build proximity and give the right signals to Google so you can be found more.
I love hearing a case study, that it's actually impacted. We have a testimonial with Dr. Sakowitz, and he was raving about how the SEO working with you, James, and how you being on the cutting edge, I'm giving your flowers over here, has helped his practice grow. And it's just having that know-how, knowing where to put the effort, the energy into, because you could do so many things. I was listening to Gary V earlier, and it's like, yeah, you can work 15 hours, dusk till dawn, and be super inefficient. Or you could work 8 hours and outwork the person that worked 15 because you're very efficient, very effective with what you do. And that's what you're doing with the SEO and the local SEO. And like, I love that in the hyper local SEO. But let's jump into AI powered local SEO strategies. How is AI changing the way we do local SEO, James?
Oh, it's changing it in many different ways. I see all positives, and I love the opportunity to actually leverage AI. I think it's still just the beginning. There are a lot of people, worried, but it's only going to make it actually more impactful and easier on anyone doing SEO. Leveraging these tools is just a game changer. I mean, we're able to just launch and stuff that I used to manually do, like competitive analysis, keyword research. AI now has changed the game where it can actually assist in that, and comes back to what you were saying, what Gary Vee said. Why would I want to sit there and spend 15 hours of thinking I'm busy when in an hour I can get that same amount of work and more, even more efficient and even more productive work done by leveraging a tool? Like, why wouldn't we
Mm.
want to do that? So it's changing the game. It's changing the game.
That would be like, oh, I want to move this pile of sand 3 miles down the road. It's like, well, I've got a 5 gallon bucket, or I have this dump truck and all the all the tools to put it in the dump truck and drive it down the road. Why would you why would you take the 5 gallon bucket? And you're going to be so tired, and you're going to take forever to do it. And that's why I do love AI is you the better you know how to use it and get the right output, because you're putting the right inputs, is great. So that brings me to, what kind of AI tools can actually help automate local SEO tasks?
Two of my favorite tools have to be ChatGPT and Surfer SEO. Those are two of my favorite tools that I use all the time. But there is, I mean, the list goes on because these companies just come out with more and
Yeah.
more. I mean, each day there's like a new tool. I actually have to keep myself from going and testing more tools out because I got so many different things going on. I'm like, all right, no more AI tools. I'm just gonna go with these, test them out. But yeah, it's amazing. But two to like start out with, just ChatGPT, and it just, and ChatGPT is just getting better and better and better, and
Hmm.
Surf for SEO. Two great ones for SEO.
So with those two, ChatGPT and Surfer SEO, how can practices utilize these?
Well, with ChatGPT, you can do quick research, right? Even you can even do quick research on competitors with ChatGPT. You can then have it assist you if you have the right prompts. I want to say this, the right prompts to help you generate content for the gaps that you might find that you and your competitors have. You generate content, you want to humanize it still, put it in your brand voice, have it optimized, have Serve for SEO, take it from there, have Serve for SEO, analyze it, make sure you're optimized fully, get a good optimization score because that's what Surfer will help you do. And boom, now you have a beautiful optimized piece of content that you could put on your site.
And that's, how much time would you say doing that process saves you on a project?
On a project, hours,
And
hours. Yeah.
so it's like, since you've been in it, what was it, 15 years?
Yep.
15 years. So someone, let's say a doctor is trying to, save money and trying to do this. How long do you think it would take them to somewhat optimize their practice using ChatGPT and Surfer SEO?
The th- so the thing is this, it would definitely save them time, but there's still that learning curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is what the misconception with AI, and that's where the fear came, is no one's going to have jobs. No one's going to, right? The AI is going to do everything. Well, the AI still needs someone to operate it correctly.
Yep.
You still need to feed it the right prompts. You still need to know what prompts are going to humanize the content that comes back. You still need to know what you're looking for when it comes to SEO as far as building internal links. So if it's a newbie that's going to just try to use AI, they might make some mistakes unless they have training along with it. Like if someone is actually teaching them. But again, it could still help assist. But if you have SEO experience and you're leveraging the AI, because AI still needs to have the right prompts and stuff, this is where it could be a game changer. This is where I'm saving so much time for myself and the team, and honestly being more efficient. And I think the results are just going to be even better.
Yeah, and the reason I was bringing that up for everyone that's watching and will watch is when you are a doctor, the best thing that you can do, the most valuable use of your time, is straightening teeth. I know that you want to have your hand in everything. You want to do all of these things, but the better use of your time is seeing more patients, having somebody that does this every day, and James, he does it every day. His team does it every day, and they're specialized in making practices hum like a well-oiled machine. So I just wanted to bring that up because I know that's some things that we faced, in the past with, working with different partners. They've tried to do it themselves, and it almost seems like they shoot themselves in the foot, just trying to do
Yeah,
it themselves.
there's a lot more into it, right? It's like if I had a machine that created clear aligners in my house, I could take a stab at it, right, to try to make my own clear aligners. I just don't know right? There's more than, yeah, that's great. So the AI is the machine, it helps, but you need to know how to operate. There's little specific things that you need to know how to dial in to still get the best output, right? That input still needs to be there.
You'll have people's teeth falling out like like somebody else used to do with clear aligners. So, James, how can AI improve and manage your Google business profile?
A great question. Yeah, so you can leverage it to set up automation on GMB posting, which is incredible for it. It can actually automatically answer frequently asked questions, which is incredible, and that's powerful for SEO as well. It can monitor and assist in adjustments. So for an example, if it sees something that is detected on your GMB and it wants to warn you, or it wants to actually suggest an update for an optimization, it can do that for you automatically, right? That just takes out that manual work. And even reviews, it can actually answer reviews for you on automation. You just have to be very careful with doing that.
Yeah, you definitely want to have the right inputs. You don't want AI going rogue and giving somebody a soup recipe or telling them off or something like that. You definitely want to have the human element, especially with the reviews. But I love that because Google My Business profiles are so powerful in this day and age. When you search, it is the thing that pops up first. That the stack is the first thing, and then you see the Google My Business profile and the reviews and all the information. It's like, if that's set up right, you are going to be ahead of a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's one of the most powerful placements right now, that organic Google Maps.
So, can AI actually write good local content? And what should businesses know before using it?
Yeah, it comes back to you. Yes, it can. However, if you just go over to ChatGPT and tell it to write something, I would not just go and publish whatever that comes out, right?
Yeah.
You have to educate the AI, and you have to set up specific prompts, right? Very specific prompts, and start working the AI to understand your business, your brand, so it has your brand voice, and then specific prompts for optimization, how you want the content laid out. If you get that right, we are seeing no issues. I know a lot of people are saying there's issues, and there's a lot of big SEO communities that I'm involved in, we're seeing incredible results with this content. And if you were to read it, you wouldn't know that it's AI. It actually just, it seems like really well done content. You do have to humanize it a little bit. There's little things to do, but we have checklists and systems built in. And again, we're working on hundreds and hundreds of campaigns. So we have the data to understand what to do, what to adjust, how to improve it. And again, we're in the beginning, right? We're still in the beginning. AI is only getting more sophisticated and better, and we're just improving as that stuff gets updated. We're testing out more, new things, new trends, right? So, yes, you can mess things up if you don't know what you're doing, but if you know what you're doing, there is no issue at all. It's incredible to leverage AI.
Yeah, I feel like it's the way we, when people look at AI, one, they're either really afraid or they're very naive where they think that it's magic.
Yeah.
When people think about magic, it's like, oh, well, just abracadabra and then boom, you've got a cupcake or something like that. But, when AI, you approach it, a lot of people approach it and expect it to do that. And then it doesn't give them what they want. So they think, everybody's crazy. This AI thing is dumb,
Yep.
And it's like the better you know how to work with it and spending time with it, playing with it, trying different things out, it just takes time. And, James and the team, they, like you said, they got checklists. They know what things to look out for. They know how to prompt everything. But, knowing how to use it and implement it in your business is great. I think it's something that people really need to take the time to know how to use within their business, even if it's not SEO. It could be, you know, answering emails. Like how
Yeah.
can I answer this email that it's somebody that's livid and it's like, give me some thoughts on this, and then you make it sound like you don't just pop and send that Gemini throwing
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
email together. But it could be, oh, I've got this huge amount of like casework, or I've got all of these messages that I need to read. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, guys. So James, what does AI bring to the table when it comes to predicting local search trends?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I'm going to say is just competitive analysis with AI is unreal. The amount of time it would take me to use SEO tools to go through competition, find gaps, it can instantly run through competition, find
Mm,
gaps, and we can prompt it to do what we look for, right? Again, just because it's AI doesn't mean someone uh, doesn't have to work it. You still have to work it, right? So we're just educating it to do what we would usually do manually, and it just boom is like a quick system. It just is so efficient. So it could do competitive analysis, it can find content gaps, it can find under optimizations and also opportunity for your site, for your GMB. It could help write content. It could give you content optimization scores so you can improve them. I mean, the list really goes on and on and on. It's just getting this set up the right way with the right prompts and understanding, but it's a game changer.
I love it. Now, I feel like with the growth of AI, there are some ethical issues that could come up. Should businesses be thinking about when using AI, like any kind of ethical issues that could be with like local SEO? Like, what are some things, like some red flags that they should be aware of?
Yeah, you got to be very careful because again, it comes back to if you are not doing a QA and edit, ChatGPT and any other AI content writer, they can just come up with certain things sometimes that make absolutely no sense or are complete lies, right? And that's not something that you want to be putting on your website or
Yeah.
content. You don't, they'll like just start putting fake reviews up. Like that's
Hmm.
not going to do anything good, right? Like we don't want it to do that. So yes, you'd have to be careful. But again, it comes back to how you're using the tool and how you're educating it with your prompts and specific setup. That's what it comes down to. If you do that correctly, though, you'll have no issues. But yes, you do have to be careful of just, hey, I heard that AI is awesome. Let me just go press this button. Up, I got something to go post and you're not reading it. right? Like you don't know, how do you know it didn't even mention, another company in there? Sometimes the AI even does that. So you do have to be careful and think about specific things of, hey, am I really being genuine with this, or is it just a bunch of BS and I'm just making up stuff, which is not right? That's
Yeah.
unethical. And also for your own practice, is this accurate? Am I saying things that are accurate and it's not a mistake, right? So there is work to be done when you're setting this stuff up. But again, we have it built into our framework where if you're understanding this and doing it right, you have no issues at all.
Yeah. The hallucinations that, Chat GPT or any AI can go through, because a lot of them are built on the same, large language model and everything, is comical at times, but frustrating as well. And, nothing is worse than, putting something out there and then you realize it's worse than a spelling mistake. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest. Because, it could be, let's say you're trying to edify the doctor. Well, the doctor didn't go to Harvard for orthodontics. He went somewhere else, or they have 3 kids. He's single. It could be
Yeah.
all of this kind of stuff. And it's just, you have to know how to feed it and prompt it the right way and check it. And it could also be, it could be as simple as, well, this doesn't really sound like our brand. So let me ask it again. Hey, match our brand voice and everything. It could be from small to bigger issues. You just need to be aware. Again, it's not a magic wand. It's more like kind of the monkey's paw. You got to be careful what you wish for sometimes. So where do you see AI and local SEO going in the next few years, James?
I think it's only going to improve. I think that we're going to be able to launch, when I'm talking about like hyperlocal neighborhood pages, I think we're going to be able to do it instantly at a very high level though, right? We're already being able to do specific things like I'm discussing, but we're going to be able to do it at a much higher level and just have automations built in that, still are taking some manual work or some editing right now. I think when that gets improved, like built-in internal links where it's knowledgeable enough to know, hey, this word should go link to that other page that lives on the site, so we don't have to manually do that, right? I could just see like AI is going to be able to just be so efficient, and the scalability, that's the best word to use.
Mm.
Be able to take what we do, take our framework that we're doing, and we're already leveraging AI, which actually helped it even improve even more. But over the next few years, I can see where we're going to be able to program it where, hey, we have this specific page and framework that we want built out. Boom, we have it in a system where AI can actually build that out instantly, but then like duplicate it across the board wherever we want it. So I see it going there definitely in a short period of time.
That is exciting because as cool as image generation or video generation is, having something that is more tactical, and I come from the world of video. Like us video makers are like, yeah, it's cool, but we still want to make videos,
Yeah.
But being able to have that scalability on the SEO side is going to absolutely crush. So let's talk about some integrations and implementations that we can use. So how can practices combine hyper-local SEO and AI tools for a stronger strategy?
Yeah, so coming back to the tools that I said, like ChatGPT or Surfer SEO, I would, depending on your budget as well, I would say implementing them right into your SEO campaign right away would be the best thing for you. First, starting off with an analysis, like getting your own SEO audit of your site. You can even have AI do that. Get some feedback from that audit, see some of the red flags that are in that audit, and then improve them by leveraging ChatGPT again and Surfer SEO to fill those gaps. I think also, we talk a lot about AI, and a lot of it comes to with on-page SEO, which is coming down to like content and optimization. That's where everything starts. That's why it's so important. However, there is also the part that you want to build authority.
Mm.
And one of the things when I was pointing out Dr. Sakowitz with Orlando Orthodontics, yes, we're doing an incredible job with on-page optimization, but what we're also doing off-page is we're leveraging AI also to find opportunities, especially through competitive analysis, of what can we do off of the site that influences the authority and power of his website, so Google recognizes it as an authority, which comes down to backlink building. So through like competitive analysis with AI, you can also start finding these gaps of, hey, there's another local practice a couple miles away. Well, he has these powerful backlinks. Where did he get them from? What are their metrics? Well, can we get the same links? If not, how do we get other links that are just as powerful? That's the type of strategy you want to build into. So you don't just want to be leveraging AI to do your content and your on-page optimizations and audits and competitive analysis, but you also want to leverage it to start finding these additional gaps that you can actually start improving to build your authority. Because at the end of the day, if you're in a competitive area like Orlando, New York City, Miami, you're going to need something that just is not just on page. You're going to need the special sauce, I call it. You're going to need something that is actually building your authority up. And in order to do that, you could actually leverage AI to assist in that as well.
That is so cool to be able to use it in so many different ways. And I think, knowing that as a business, regardless of the budget, you can utilize these tools. But let's talk about like someone that has either a startup or they're trying to grow. They've got a small practice and they don't have a big budget at the moment. What are some methods that you would say they could use to be able to use hyperlocalization and AI?
Yeah, I would go over to ChatGPT, the free version, so you don't really need a budget for that, or even DeepSeek. You could use DeepSeek. And I would just ask them to analyze the website. And I got to be careful with what I say here, though, because again, AI is not 100% accurate on some specific things, right? So when you do use these tools to analyze your site or give an audit, you have to be careful of everything that comes back. And that's why we have specific prompts, me and the team, that we're using. And also, I will say this, the paid versions of AI are definitely better. And there's a reason why they're creating those paid versions over the free version. But you could, for just starting out, go plug in your site, feed your URL in there, and just prompt it to do an SEO audit and put in like your top seed keyword. If you're an orthodontist in Orlando, say, please run, a local SEO audit for my site. I'm a local orthodontist in Orlando. Give me feedback and see what it comes back with. And you could just start at that point right there.
That is awesome. So, a lot of great tips within this episode, everybody. That is our stream today. Make sure to like and subscribe to our weekly podcast and our weekly live streams. Go check out the Grow Ortho podcast and our new show, the Grow Dental podcast, to hear more content that can help you grow your practice. And Mark Twain said it best: the secret of getting ahead is, of course, getting started. So get out there and get started on the changes you want to see in your practice now. This has been Zach.
And I'm James.
Thank you for listening to the Grow Ortho podcast.